No one knows that I'm here. No one knows that I'm doing this. There's no coming back from this. You're invincible when you're young. But as time goes on, you can't help but run into the feeling that you somehow have to get it the f*** together for there to be meaning in everything that you do, because if there is no meaning, then what is the point? What's the good of starting a journey if you know it's just going to end up going south? I dread what other people think. In my world, it determines success and failure. In my world, it's the difference between happiness and sadness, right and wrong. I'm still young, even though that I joke that I'm not, and despite of my frivolous jokes about how ancient I am, I'm 36, but who's counting? Me. Time is the greatest gift. The cliche that is found on every keyring and inside every fortune cookie from here to everywhere. Like most cliches, it's annoying because it's true. Time awards us an embarrassment of riches. And with that embarrassment comes the same realization. If there is no meaning to how you spend that time, then it is a waste. It is a void. For the longest time, I've had thoughts, feelings, ideas, plans, yet I could not point to any of these and state that I have satisfactorily executed any one of them, unless you count with the shotgun of doubt, right in the mouth, through the back of the head. My brain is where ideas go to die, unused, unrealized. Their graves are upon high ground from which I can stand and shout to myself about how brilliant and prolific and creative I am, just enough to trick myself, just enough to ignore the void. Even now, I can't help but cringe. The liar within me whispers that it's because I'm a perfectionist. I could not possibly release anything into the world unless it's flawless. Imagine what kind of world we would live in if everyone was like that. A world paralyzed in perfection. How the hell do you bake a cake, go to the shops, learn to drive, write a birthday card, change a light bulb? How do you do any of these things if you attempt it in the same way as writing a single sentence of a story, or painting a single brushstroke, or singing a single note? Perfection is an imagined tyrant. All it takes is a mirror for you to see that the only one controlling your perception is you. It does matter what people think, but it also matters what you think. An idea is just that. It requires action to make it real. So if you don't do anything about it, that idea's blood is on your hands. Here, in this space, on this channel, on this stage, nothing will be perfect, because nothing ever is. If ideas remain as thoughts, then they are wasted. Only by expressing them will they escape the void. But where to begin? Of course, it's all very well saying that, but if you're going to start a project all about exploring ideas, it would be a good idea to first have an idea. I decided to vow the moment I could think of the first chapter of this story, I would immediately attempt to execute it, no matter when, no matter where. I'm away for work. I'm staying at this old hotel in a sweeping southern region known as the Borders. After grabbing dinner, my work colleagues have gone to their rooms. I'm wired after driving 3 hours on the winding roads of southern Scotland, across glen and dale. It was dark after dinner, and the hotel was transformed in the night. It's a former stately Georgian country house. Its grand history is evident through its ornate decor and plasterwork ceilings. There are some slightly eccentric choices that give clues to its varied past. It's unashamedly dressed in an era long past. I can't just sit in my room. I have to do something. I make a very rational decision. I have to go to the bar! In the bar, I meet James the bartender. This is a picture that we took. He let me tell him about how long my day was. He even said he'd only charge me for a single rum rather than the double spice rum and ginger ale that I had ordered. A dark and stormy, he said. I was glad he knew the name. Not everyone does. As we got talking, James the bartender gave me a lesson about where I was. He told me how the town was ancient and how it was steeped in history. James told me about how the cobbles outside and the hotel were all listed, and I asked, why lead with the cobbles? He gave me a dark look and didn't elaborate.
We hobble and you wobble on the cobbles.
James told me if you go outside the back of the bar, you can stand on the river lawn and see one of the oldest stone bridges in Scotland. James the bartender said that it was a tradition to drink to the bridge. He said in the old days people would go as far as to follow the path from the hotel to the bridge with drink in hand to toast it by pouring a sip onto the stone. And there it was, plain as day in the darkness of night. My vow had come back to haunt me. For a moment I could think of the first chapter of this story. I would immediately attempt to execute it. No matter when, no matter where. This was Joseph Campbell's hero's journey, and James the bartender's story was a call to adventure. I now needed to answer the call and cross the threshold by crossing that bridge. And who am I to ignore tradition? Those pilgrims in a time long ago would not settle for an easy gesture in the dark, and neither would I. Looks like Dark and Stormy is coming with me to toast the bridge. This was the spontaneous shot in the dark that I had been waiting for. Little did I know how dark it would be. Completely unequipped, with limited space and battery on my phone, it was time, at last, to escape the void. By leaving the bar out back, I crossed the river lawn, admiring the lights of the hotel, noting every step leading me away from its reassuring illumination. As I wandered in the rough direction of the bridge, I found the path, but it wasn't long before I was faced with my first challenge. Fate had deemed it fit to present me with an actual void. Filming the void was pretty difficult, so I took this terrifying snap using night mode. There in that moment, I felt fear, but Dark and Stormy helped with that. I took a step into the darkness, and then another, and another. After stumbling on a trail scattered with tree roots and fallen branches, my eyes began to adjust to the surroundings. There was a gap in the trees, and night mode revealed to me that I was walking in the shadow of a large empty church. Pressing on, however, my path came to an abrupt end. A walled walkway built on the brink of the riverbank wound to the left, and the ground behind it fell away into blackness. In it I could hear the rush of the river below. I could see the bridge stretching away into the night. But I couldn't reach it. The shotgun of doubt was telling me this was stupid, telling me to turn back, that this was folly. Normal people don't do this. Yes, I found another voice interjected, a voice that I've worryingly decided to name the escape voice. You've already taken a first step. What's a few more? Then another voice told me to drink some more, and that definitely helped. I found myself following the walkway, which led me onto more of James the bartender's listed cobbles. I found myself in the shadow of a far more imposing structure than the church before. A giant ruined abbey glowered above. Lit from below, it was like a giant gargoyle guarding the path ahead. All good stories have monsters.
I was asking a local man what was the cause of its ruin, what was the cause of its destruction so many years ago. And he just looks at me straight in the eye and says, "You're English, aren't you? Take 3 f***ing guesses."
I found as I pressed onwards, I was having to navigate more open roads. It became very apparent to me that I was a guest in this town, wandering around with a very strong, albeit discounted, alcoholic beverage. The prospect of explaining to anyone that I wasn't a wandering drunk and that I was in fact shooting an experimental ideas vlog in this remote regional town filled me with dread. With masterful sleight of hand, I deployed a maneuver I like to call the wizard sleeve. The wizard sleeve! Suddenly I found myself turning a corner, and all thought of monsters and discovery were banished from me. In the quiet haze of the night, the bridge seemed otherworldly. The lights were beckoning me, and with limited camera space and with my battery dying, I didn't have much time. I strode out with dark and stormy in hand. It was very cold by this point, and I could scarcely feel the hand that was holding the glass. I became afraid that if I thought about it too much, I might let go. Instead of toasting the bridge, I'd be glassing it. I'd have come all this way for nothing. Even then I could hear the shotgun of doubt. What are you doing? Why would you do this? This isn't normal! Yet with every step the escape voice was ever stronger. This isn't normal, but that's okay. You had this idea, and for good or bad you are going to do it. You heard the call to adventure, and you answered it. You crossed the threshold. You are crossing this bridge. You are escaping the void. And just like that, I was there, in the center of the bridge. I raised dark and stormy, and I toasted the bridge. A bridge is something that takes people from one place to the next. And this bridge had taken me from thinking about a project to creating one, no matter how mental. In that moment, I had a feeling of utmost satisfaction, and I marked it by finishing the best dark and stormy I've ever had. It might be a small thing, a strange fancy in an old town far away from everything else in my life, but I felt like I had achieved a goal, no matter how strange it might have been at the time. I knew that this was the beginning of something. I'd crossed the bridge, not only over a river, but across a mental barrier.
Across the bridge today. You don't do that every day. Across the bridge. Now let's see what's on the other side.